guys, hello and welcome back to my channel Elucidate. And guys, today we are going to cover a new topic which is brand new and which is known as Ansible basics, right? So into this particular lecture, we are going to discuss what Ansible is all about. Why do we need it? Why do we need to learn it? What would be the architecture of Ansible, and how much time it's gonna take in order to understand it? So today's lecture, guys, we will be doing a little bit of a theory part as well, so that you are able to understand first what Ansible is actually all about, how it's gonna work, and then we'll move again back to our a lab part onto my next lecture. So this lecture would be totally theoretical. First, try to understand what Ansible is all about, the way we understood what Chef was all about. So guys, starting my lecture. So as we all knew that chef, by definition, what who is a chef? A chef is a person who has the talent to prepare multi cuisine kind of food, or can prepare or has the ability to prepare Italian food, Indian food, Australian, American, I mean n number of foods in n number of styles. That person who is known as a chef of a restaurant has that level of ability in order to do that. So that person is known as chef. Okay, so this is just the literal meaning of chef. In the same way, I have just noted it down somewhere from the Wikipedia today. I did a lot of research, and then I came to know what is the real meaning of Ansible, because there are n number of meanings available. So immediately I came to know that, guys, that Ansible is a category of fictional devices, as it is written over here. So first, try to understand what fictional devices are, for those who are not able to understand the English language very much in a proper manner. So fictional devices are those level of devices, or those sort of devices which really do not exist in our lifetime, right? Let's say, for example, I can take example of a time machine. So time machine does not really exist, although it might have existed in the Philadelphia experiment which Einstein did it. So I'm not going into that. It might have existed, but currently, as of now, it is not public, and it is a fictional kind of thing, right? A sci-fi kind of thing for us. In the same way, another fictional device, if you can think about, you can think that there is an elevator. You go into that elevator and you are simply teleported from one place to another, from India to America, from America to New Zealand, and vice versa. So that is a teleportation device. That is also a fictional kind of concept. Similarly, Ansible is belongs to a category of devices which is totally fictional, that does not exist. But what has been assumed about that particular thing, we should go ahead and read again. It can send and receive messages to and from a device or over any distance. I mean, it can be n number of distances, n number of kilometers, light years, with no delay, even between star systems. So we normally tend to get delay with our telecommunication networks, even if we are sitting on two different rooms within a same society and within a same flat, right? It may happen, and it normally happens sometimes. But this Ansible has been assumed to being a communication device or a technology which will help you to communicate with the help of a device without any delay. And you can take call, or you can communicate from anywhere. You can communicate from a galaxy, you can communicate from space, you can communicate from moon, and there would be no lag. You are talking to a person who is sitting on the moon, absolutely, and that person sitting on the moon would be listening what I am saying at this point of time with zero lag, right? So this is just a fictional concept. This is the meaning of Ansible. I know this is not even required to know, but it would be good for your own knowledge, right? So let me play this a very short thing. So if you want to have a call from galaxy, from even space, or even from moon, Ansible will help you out. So this that was just a visual representation. Or if you want to get your communication from Jupiter, somebody is sitting on to Jupiter and wants to call to Earth, Ansible might help you with that, right? So this is just a fictional kind of concept. And now, getting back to our main lecture about Ansible, what Ansible is all about. Let's start. Okay. So, guys, what is Ansible? It is a configuration management tool. So, what is a configuration management tool? Guys, those who have not yet gone through my lecture 16, in which I have totally explained you guys what is Chef, what is its architecture, what automation tool basically means. So please go and revise it so that you are able to understand what configuration management tools are all about, what is an automation tool all about. But I'll just reiterate over here, but I won't explain each and everything that I've already explained. But I'll try to make myself in a very short and crispy manner. I'll try to make you guys understand. So, what is a configuration management tool or an automation tool? Uh, so, guys, it is going to automate something, and what it is going to automate, you need to understand with the help of a diagram which I have created. Okay, so in order to go ahead to that particular diagram, let's first read out what it is over here, right? So why are we even learning Chef, and what if we have already learned Chef? What is the need of learning Ansible? For those, there are some guys onto the market at this point of time who already know in very detail about Chef. So why they should go for in learning Ansible? So there are n number of reasons. The very first reason is that, which I have not jotted down here, but yeah, I have written it somewhere, like it will depend upon your organization's requirement. So it will totally depend upon what kind of organization you are working in, what is the actual requirement of your organization, and what type of architecture they do want at some point of time. Okay, so that will totally depend upon your organization's requirement. So it is better, to learn Chef and Ansible both. Why? Because we are learning in a world of 2021, and it is a very very modern kind of world, guys. If we do not try to become antivirus, we will become outdated. So those, especially those who are into IT industry, or who are working onto an organization, or who want to come into IT organization and build their career, or even not in IT organization, there are some people who are working in HR kind of organizations, but are busy with the system admin part, or any other parts, right? So you guys, you need to keep updated yourself at every point of time, because there will be a time, if you are not updated enough, your junior will be updated enough, having a like a she's who come with 1 or 2 years of experience. And today, even the freshies have got the idea of what automation is all about. They are able to automate websites using Selenium and all. So if they can be hired in, let's say, X amount, why companies would be giving you Z amount, right? I hope you guys are getting my point. So it's, I know it takes a time, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of memory and revision as well, because there is no need to mug up the entire lecture which I'm giving you over here if you do not know what we have discussed already onto our previous lectures, right? So I would request everyone to keep learning and keep practicing. So learning is not important, practicing is even more important. And it is very important aspect of your life. If you do not practice, you'll simply be outdated again, even if you have a knowledge. Okay, because take example of a Linux. If 15 to 20 days, or let's say 40-50 days, I do not use Linux queries, I even tend to forget where to put hyphen, right? So it happens. So I'm not going into that. So that was just a small lecture from me. Apologies for that. Okay, so guys, it simply follows push based architecture, and when it is required, I have highlighted it, I have bolded it, and it is that too in red color. So let's first discuss these 2 points. What do they actually mean? Okay. So in order to understand the Chef architecture, or sorry, in order to understand the architecture of Ansible, let's first compare it with Chef, because those who are seeing my video for the very first time, for them it would be easier to grasp. But those who already know about Chef, what architecture is all about, for them I need to compare them, so that they also get to know, yeah, like why we should go for Ansible, and what is the need, what is the requirement, how it works, what would be the advantages of Ansible. So there are n number of things, n number of theory part, will come to that. But whole essence, or whole idea, or the whole gist of my lecture for Ansible, for this particular starting lecture, is that you should get a basic idea. Basic idea never means in depth, or a working experience. You won't get working experience with basic idea. We'll cover all the topics one by one. My next session is going to be an Ansible lab, and we'll discuss some concepts. But please be with me, and trust the process. Okay, so guys, this was our Chef architecture. Okay, so there was a chef workstation over here. We used to write recipes onto our cookbooks. The recipes are set of codes. They may be Java, Ruby, Python, XYZ. We used to upload it onto the chef server, and when those recipes got uploaded onto the chef server, they were pulled automatically by the chef client. So what is a chef client over here? I am just reiterating so that this lecture becomes a combination of both, chef and Ansible. Okay, so once that things are uploaded over here, the updated recipe, let's say something has got updated over here, chef client will first check the internal system whether it has got, the updated file or not. If not, it will go to the chef server and pull it. Similarly, for this kind of system, chef client will check. If not, pull it. Chef client will check the system. If not, and pull it. Okay, so let's say if chef was not introduced over here, right? If Ansible was not there, let's say, just talk about chef right now. If the chef is not introduced over here and these kinds of architecture are not there, then, let's take example of an admin guy, and who has given a task at 5 p.m. IST by their IT manager, that, you need to configure 50 computers because 40 of the freshies would be joining within a 2 days or 3 days time. Configure them and just let me know. But since this guy is a human being, so, it may happen that at some point of time, let's say, he may forget to install Apache server over here. He may forget to install, a tree over here, if it is a, you know this chef kind of architecture. And at 5 p.m., let's say his wife called him, and and he totally got forgot what he was doing onto this particular system, because he indulged in a fight with his wife, and now he has no idea what the hell he was doing with this system, and he forgot. Because we are human, we are prone to errors, and we will make mistakes. It's not that, no human is born that you can say that he will not make mistakes. So this was the result why this automation architectures came into places like Chef and Ansible, to automate the entire stuff. You write your code, just put it over here, this will come and pull it. So this is the reason why all these things got invented. And this is the reason a configuration management tool came into the places, right? So what is configuration management tool? I would request you guys to refer to my previous lectures, but I have told you the basic idea of what automation is done all about, right? So in order to ease the work of installing 50 softwares on 50 different systems, if that there would have been a chef server kind of thing, and if that IT guy would have been, uh, would have been having the knowledge of chef, he would have been done it within few minutes or hours, I think. Okay, so onto this particular chef server, there was a concept known as chef client, right? So chef client basically asks every time a new updated thing comes over here. Let's say file one comes over here updated, it will ask its own node onto its OI, which keeps all the internal tracks of requirements or the details of your system. It will simply ask, hey, do you have the latest updated code which is present on chef server? It will say no, it will go and pull it. So this was a pull based architecture. People are coming by themselves to get themselves updated. They are coming themselves, they are pulling it, they are coming and pulling it, and they are updating themselves. But in case of Ansible, it is totally opposite. This is a totally push based architecture. And please remember, over here I told you that it is a push based, and when it is required, it simply follows architect push based architecture. And when it is required, what do you mean by when it is required? I highlighted that in red. It basically means that, if there was a chef kind of architecture, although it is already automated, if any updated thing comes, it will pull it. Let's say I updated a wrong code over here, and every computer is now pulling it a wrong code. One, two, three, four, four, five computers, it's okay. But what about if 50 computers have pulled the wrong code? It may happen, na, at some point of time in your life. Somebody may do that. Although when you create a recipe, and if you run a command chef client -zr and you recipe name, cookbook name, I hope you guys remember. If not, then please, start eating something so that your memory gets better at it. So over here, the chef workstation. was present, we used to write recipes, and even if we wrote recipes that was incorrect, if you run the chef client, it will give it. But somehow, let's say somebody has put wrong code over here, but since if it is an automated kind of structure, chef client will come and pull it. It may happen. I'm just giving a fictional kind of example, since Ansible is also a fictional kind of tool. So I just gave you a fictional example. It may exist, it may even not exist in your organization, but in order to make the concept easy, if somebody puts the wrong code, it will come and pull it. Everybody will be updated at the same time, because I already demoed you guys that I never touched the node machine, but as soon as I updated it, these system got updated by themselves. I've already told you in onto my one of my lectures, around lecture 20 or 21 maybe, in which I have done the entire automation, right? So this is how things used to work with a chef. And now coming back onto the Ansible, since this is an Ansible lecture, and now we have already compared, and now we are going to understand what Ansible is all about. Okay. So in Ansible, what happens? There is only a chef server. There is no need of this. Workstation has gone. This is why it is looking very simple and very easy. And the ease of Ansible is making it popular nowadays, because it is very easy. And the recipes, sorry, not recipes, the code which is written, it is written inside a playbook over here onto the chef server itself, and it is written in YAML. YAML. YAML is also very easy. You do not need to be an expert onto any particular language, or it's not like that. If you are not from a programming background, you won't be able to learn, Ansible, mm, anything about Ansible. It's not like that. This is why I've already written it there. It is famous because not very technical people are needed to make use of Ansible. Those who have a basic ideas of programming, they can also use it, right? It makes you use of YAML scripting. I will discuss in detail about this, what YAML is all about, how to learn it, how to understand it. I'll discuss with you guys later on. But try to understand this architecture at this point of time. It is very simple. Also, there is no concept of client nor Ohio. Here there was a client who used to check, hey, do you have anything updated? No. If updated here, it will check here as well and then pull it. Okay. And there is also no concept of Ohio. Ohio used to contain all the internal details of your system. So only there is a chef, and only there is a computer system or a node or a host. You can whatever you can call in your own mind. So only these two entities are basically involved at this point of time in Ansible. And uh, it will communicate with its nodes or its host machine with the help of SSH. Over here in Chef, we were doing it. First, we were making use of Knife, and we were bootstrapping it. So what is bootstrapping, guys? I hope you guys remember, when we connect our node machine to the Chef server, that process via which we used to do it was known as bootstrapping. Okay, it's better. I'm saying it's better to learn both chef and client at the same time, because IT world is totally uncertain. You should be having an idea of both. Okay, and this Ansible is quite easy as well. So what I was saying, that knife bootstrapping process was needed, but here simply SSH is required to connect to these computer systems. So even more, a simple, this architecture is over here. And it is a push based architecture. Push based architecture, what do you mean by push based architecture? Let's say you have a manager, and so if I talk about chef, let's say this is you, and this is your friend who is sitting onto your shoulder. Okay, just imagine, this is your friend, and your friend is again sitting onto your shoulder. So there was a concept of chef client over here. Let's say you do not have any work, any updated work, you do not have any work, so instead of you going to your manager and asking for work, hey, give me some work, hey, give me some work, because you are going to pull something. We are talking about chef, so it would be a pull architecture. What is happening over here? Let's say you are a node, so your chef client, your friend which is sitting onto your shoulder, is saying that, hey dude, you do not have anything updated, but I have seen that your manager has got a lot of work. He will first check, he's not having, then he will go to his manager, and take some pieces of work and assign it to him. Similarly, he will say, hey, Your manager has got something updated, you don't have any work, let's pull it and I'll give it to you. So this was a pull based architecture. But if I talk about Ansible, guys, this is a totally push based architecture. In every organization, your manager always has some list of items, okay, in their agenda, what should be done. So if they have work, they will give it to you. They have work, they will give it to you. They have work, they will again assign it to you. If the work comes, they will give it to you. So this is how push based mechanism works. You do not have to go every time after every 1 hour like a cron job, going to your manager, sir, is there work, nodding your head up and down 5 times, right? So you do not need to do things like chef over here. This is just like Ansible. Normally when your manager has work, he will assign it to you. Till then, chill and relax. So this was the whole essence of when it is required, right? So you will deploy over something over here, and let's say even if it is wrong code, uh, it they will get pushed only when any human intervention would be done, right? It's not like you put it over here and things would be getting pushed directly to all these nodes. No, some human effort will be required. So it is not 100% fully automated kind of structure, but it is gaining very very popularity because the simple and ease of its use, right? So guys, these were the things which were related to Ansible. This was the Ansible architecture. Okay, let's discuss some other points. Ansible is now available for Windows as well, although normally people used to think that it is only available by for Linux machines by Red Hat, but it is available for PowerShell as well. Okay, it is also an automation tool, and they support infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as a code, what do you mean? Infrastructure as a code, guys, simply mean that write your code, build your infrastructure. Write your code, build your infrastructure. I already told in lecture 16. Again, I'm reiterating. Let's say I want this machine to be a Linux machine. I want this to be an Ubuntu machine. I want this to be a Mac machine. Or let's say Windows is installed in all these machines. And now I want it Linux, Ubuntu, and Mac. I'll update something. I'll write some code over here and it will simply install it. It will push it. Let's say tomorrow, 3 freshers are coming. Okay, I've written a code over here. It will push it and it will install automatically. So this kind of thing you can just imagine at this point of time how this is how what Ansible would be working. It is totally partially different from Chef. There were a lot of things. There was bootstrapping involved. If uh, if for the initial phase there was a Chef workstation, you need to write all your code in Chef workstation, and then you have to be connected to your Chef server. You upload things your Chef server, it will be visible. I already demoed to you guys in a very easy and quick manner. And then you need to connect them via bootstrapping. There is a Chef client that will check along with it. Oh hi. So these concepts are not over here. This is why it is gaining popularity. It is easier to use, right? So as I said, it follows push based architecture and it will push it when it is required. It makes use of YAML. It is famous because you do not need to be a coder or hacker kind of stuff. If even if you are a simple person, you'll be able to learn it. And how we'll all work with each other and we'll make use of Ansible. Okay, on to our upcoming next lectures. And Ansible is agentless. So what do you mean by agentless? I already told you without specifying it. Like there was a diagram, there was an agent installed. This guy in Ansible, he was sitting onto your shoulder like Chef client, right? Chef client. So this is an agent in case of Chef client who will go first to their internal system and will check to the server and then pull it. But over here, there's no agent. Server will communicate directly, no third party involved. So in case of Ansible, you need to kick out your friend out from your shoulders, right? Your manager will talk to you directly one by one on one, whenever required. So this is the simplicity over here. Just by seeing the architecture, you can feel that it's not much of technical kind of thing. Even class 8th or 10th standard student would be able to understand that something is getting pushed on from here to here via SSH kind of something, and you will write your code over here and it will go over here. That is it. Try to make things in a very simple manner. Otherwise, even your life can get complicated at sometimes. Okay. So guys, this was all about the step one. Now coming back to step two, you need to know about these small things as well. So Ansible has a lesser customer base as compared to Chef and Puppet, and it also has a less community. Less community means less number of resources available. Let's say in the very earlier phases of Python, when people used to compare it, let's say if you are stuck at something, for Java, you just Google it out and you just do Stack Overflow, you will be getting a number of resources available. But in case of Python, in the very initial stages, the things were not the same. If you are stuck, you are stuck for some point of time, for some period of time. So there are at this point of time limited resources available, but it is gaining popularity. People are moving towards Ansible and they are learning Ansible as well. And as I told you that manual intervention will be required in order to push latest updated code onto from Ansible server to the nodes. So what do we mean by saying that? Something would be required to do over here, then only it will get pushed. It will not get pushed automatically in the case of Chef client. I think I hope I'm making myself clear. We will do something and then only it will go over here. Simple, absolutely simple. And in onto our next lecture, guys, I am going to do the lab and hands-on part for this Ansible. So I would request everyone to please stay tuned with me and just trust the process and be bear with me whatever I'm telling you guys, and we'll learn simultaneously. Everybody would be learning. Okay. So guys, this was all about the basics of Ansible. I hope you guys have enjoyed and liked my lecture. Let me know if I need to improve onto anything or if you wanted some any extra pieces of functionality or any pieces of information onto this my lecture. Just let me know. Okay. So guys, thank you for your time and thank you for your patience. Thanks a lot.